Is India much worthy to claim a permanent seat in the United Nations? And if not, what should India's future steps be for this? And also, what's your view on China's military activity around Taiwan? Is it a trailer before a full war? Okay, so is India worthy to claim to put its case forth for a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council? Well, let's look at the makeup of the United Nations Security Council, the five permanent members. Okay, let's see who they are. The US, the sole superpower. Secondly, there's Russia, which is a near superpower militarily, but economically not that powerful. Thirdly, you have China, which is a gigantic economy, but not clearly as powerful militarily as Russia or the US. So these three nations make sense, the three most powerful nations, let's say, hard power. Then you have a nation like France, and you have a nation, the UK. What is the UK? I'll tell you what the UK is. The UK is a poor third rate nation attached to London. The real economy of the UK is London. London is the global money laundering hub, and you could say the financial capital of Europe, one of the major financial outposts and hubs of the Western Empire. And so London is what really matters, and the rest of the nation is a poor third-rate nation attached to London. And it no longer has any geopolitical pretensions. It's not even a second-rate geopolitical power. It's a third-rate geopolitical power. It doesn't even have control, the UK, over its own nuclear weapons, okay, which are mated to American ballistic missiles, which means that the big red button isn't in London with Mr. Rishi Sunak. It's probably somewhere in Washington DC, somewhere around that place. So the UK doesn't really belong in the United Nations Security Council. What about France? Well, France again is a member of NATO, which means it's not entirely sovereign. NATO has pooled sovereignty, which means some of your national sovereignty goes out of your hands, and it becomes the domain of the NATO High Command. So France obviously doesn't like this. It's the only nation in NATO that has a quasi-independent foreign policy. I've said this so many times. But economically, it's not that big. It does have some power projection ability because of its colonial possessions in the Indian Ocean region and its influence over certain parts of France, especially certain parts of Africa, especially northern and western Africa. But overall, you could say it's a has-been kind of nation. Okay, much of its wealth still is extracted out of Africa and so on. So when it comes to the UK and France, they don't really belong in the UN Security Council, given their current status, the current state of their power, their economy, the military, and overall hard power. Not really. And India's economy is larger than that of France and of the UK. And India is a rising geopolitical power. India dominates the Indian Ocean region. I think India deserves a place in the UN Security Council much more than the UK or France. I mean, the world has changed. It's no longer 1945, but the UN Security Council is a snapshot of the world order as it was in 1945. So I think India should keep on reminding the world that it is an injustice and a travesty that India is not a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Keep on reiterating this at every occasion. But don't worry too much about it, because the UN is becoming more and more irrelevant. Okay, it's obviously lost a lot of respect. So what India needs to do, future steps, is just keep on growing your economy. And as your economy grows, your military might grows, and work on the power projection abilities, which means you need a powerful navy. You need to invest in the navy, in distributed lethality over a wide surface area of the Indian Ocean region. That's what India needs to do. Keep working assiduously on this, day in and day out. And in the next 5 years, it will be a different story. In 10 years, it will be a much more different story. That's what India needs to do.